Stop everything you are doing right now. What you are about to discover will either transform you completely, fundamentally altering the entire trajectory of your existence, or it will leave you exactly where you stand at this very moment for the next decade of your life. 3 days ago, I witnessed something that disturbed me profoundly. I watched a man spend 20 agonizing minutes explaining himself, justifying his actions, defending his choices to someone who clearly held absolutely no respect for him whatsoever, seeking understanding, craving validation from a person utterly unworthy of his time, his energy, his attention. Such men walk among us everywhere, in every city, every workplace, every social circle. Perhaps you recognize yourself in this painful story. Perhaps you see your own reflection in this man's desperate need for approval. Perhaps you are exhausted, weary of being overlooked, underestimated, dismissed, treated as if you matter little in this world, as if your presence carries no weight, your words carry no authority, your boundaries carry no consequence. You were not born this way. You were not born lacking confidence, lacking presence, lacking the natural authority that should be your birthright as a capable human being. You were programmed that way, systematically trained, deliberately conditioned over years and decades to become predictable, controllable, manageable, easy to categorize and simple to dismiss. But 5 centuries ago, one extraordinary man penetrated through the veil of social pretense, through the comfortable lies society tells itself, and discovered the actual principles governing power, strength, influence, and lasting success. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli, and he wrote what became the definitive handbook for becoming truly unstoppable in a world designed to stop you at every turn. Machiavelli did not waste his time writing pleasant fables about how the world should be, about how people ought to behave, about the virtuous ideal that exists nowhere except in philosophical dreams. Instead, he wrote ruthless, uncomfortable truths about how the world actually is, how people actually behave when their interests are at stake, how power actually functions beneath the surface of polite society. He observed courts with penetrating eyes, studied rulers both successful and failed, analyzed human behavior not through the distorted lens of moral philosophy, but through cold, unflinching, empirical observation. What he discovered disturbed the comfortable and empowered the wise. He understood that human nature operates on principles far removed from the virtuous ideals society preaches on Sunday mornings. He saw clearly that men are driven primarily by self-interest, that they respect demonstrated strength far more than they respect kindness, that they respond to tangible consequences far more reliably than they respond to appeals to their supposedly better nature. I am speaking of becoming the type of man who enters a room and immediately shifts its entire atmosphere without saying a single word. The type of man who speaks once, just once, and everyone stops what they are doing to listen carefully. The type of man who sets a boundary and watches it respected without question, without challenge, without the need for repeated enforcement. I am speaking of becoming someone who fundamentally cannot be intimidated by threats, cannot be manipulated by emotional games, cannot be stopped by obstacles that would destroy ordinary men. Someone who commands respect naturally, effortlessly, simply by being who he has become. Someone who operates according to deeper laws, more fundamental principles than those governing the actions and reactions of ordinary men trapped in ordinary thinking. In the coming minutes, I will share with you 8 powerful principles drawn directly from Machiavellian thought, principles that will transform you from someone who gets overlooked in every room to someone who gets noticed immediately, from someone who begs and pleads for basic respect to someone who commands it automatically, from someone who hopes blindly that things will somehow work out to someone who prepares strategically and makes things work out through calculated action. But understand this warning with complete clarity before we proceed further. Once you perceive these truths, once you truly see them, you cannot unsee them. Once you comprehend how influence genuinely works beneath the surface of social interaction, you cannot return to comfortable naivety. Once you become unstoppable, once you internalize these principles fully, there exists no path back to being stoppable, no way to return to your previous limitations. The choice stands before you right now, in this exact moment. Will you continue as you are, comfortable but powerless, safe but insignificant? Or will you embrace what Machiavelli understood about power, about human nature, about what actually creates lasting success in a competitive world? The transformation begins not tomorrow when you feel more ready, not next week when circumstances improve, not next month when you have more time, but this very moment, right now, with the decision you make as you continue reading these words. Are you truly ready to become unstoppable? Within you right now, at this very moment, exist two completely distinct selves, two different versions of who you could become. One remains uncertain, perpetually apologetic, desperate for others' approval, constantly seeking external validation to feel worthy. The other stands confident, genuinely self-assured, commanding respect effortlessly, without needing to demand it, without needing to beg for it. Every single day you wake up, you feed one of these selves and starve the other. Every choice you make throughout your day strengthens one while simultaneously weakening the other. Today, we make a deliberate, conscious decision to starve the uncertain self completely and nourish the confident one abundantly. Machiavelli understood this fundamental duality with profound depth. He recognized clearly that men possess both the inherent capacity for greatness and the dangerous tendency toward servility, toward submission, toward accepting whatever role society assigns them. He wrote with precision that fortune favors those who align their nature with the demands of their times, who adapt their character intelligently to circumstances, rather than remaining rigidly stuck in outdated patterns that no longer serve them. Your uncertain self embodies everything society systematically taught you to be from your earliest childhood. It whispers constantly that you should be nice, always nice, even when someone blatantly disrespects you to your face. It compels you to apologize reflexively when you have done absolutely nothing wrong, when the fault lies entirely with someone else. It drives you relentlessly to explain yourself, to justify your choices, to defend your decisions to people who should actually be explaining themselves to you, who should be seeking your approval, rather than the reverse. This programming began incredibly early in your development. Your parents, meaning well, wanted you compliant and easy to manage. Your teachers wanted you obedient, sitting quietly in rows, never questioning their authority. Society at large wanted you manageable and predictable, easy to categorize, simple to control. But manageable men do not build empires that last for generations. Manageable men get overlooked consistently, forgotten quickly, relegated permanently to the margins of history, while others who refuse to be managed claim the victories and write their names in permanent ink. Machiavelli observed with clinical precision that princes who concerned themselves too much with appearing virtuous, with maintaining the appearance of perfect morality, often lost their principalities entirely to more pragmatic rivals who understood that results matter more than appearances. He noted carefully that those who prioritized being loved universally over being respected genuinely frequently found themselves without either love or respect when difficult times arrived. The uncertain self operates entirely on outdated programming specifically designed to make you socially acceptable, pleasant to be around, easy for others to deal with, but not personally powerful, not influential, not capable of shaping outcomes in your favor. Every single time you choose to be kind, to be understanding, to be forgiving to someone who clearly does not deserve it, who has not earned it through their actions, you simultaneously choose to be cruel to yourself, to deny yourself the respect you deserve. Every time you allow someone to cross your boundaries without immediate consequences, you teach them through your inaction that your boundaries hold no real meaning, that they can be violated with impunity, whenever convenient for them. Your uncertain self speaks a completely different language than your confident self, uses different words, different tone, different underlying assumptions about how the world works. Consider carefully how these two selves communicate in identical situations. The uncertain self says anxiously, "I don't want to hurt their feelings," even though they had no problem hurting mine. The confident self declares firmly, "I don't want to compromise my standards for anyone, regardless of their feelings about it." The uncertain self whispers defensively, "Maybe I misunderstood what happened. Maybe I'm being too sensitive." The confident self states with absolute clarity, "I understood perfectly what happened, and I don't appreciate what I understood." The uncertain self pleads desperately, "I should probably give them another chance. Maybe they'll change this time. The confident self replies coldly, precisely. They already used their chance, and they wasted it. Through their own choices. Learn to recognize clearly which voice currently guides your decisions in any given moment. When you find yourself about to apologize for something that was objectively not your fault, that was caused entirely by someone else's actions or choices, that is your uncertain self speaking, seeking to smooth over conflict at the cost of your own dignity. When you are about to explain yourself extensively to someone who actually owes you an apology, who should be seeking your understanding rather than you seeking theirs, that is your uncertain self, desperately seeking approval it will never receive from people unworthy of giving it. The transformation of your inner self requires not violence, not aggression, not dramatic confrontation, but strategic choice repeated consistently over time. Choose demonstrated strength over received approval. Choose earned respect over being liked by everyone. Choose real influence over shallow popularity. Your uncertain self will resist this transformation fiercely, desperately, with every weapon at its disposal. It will remind you constantly of everyone who might dislike the new you, who might be uncomfortable with your newfound boundaries. It will show you every single time you tried to be strong in the past and struggled. Every time you attempted to stand up for yourself and faced pushback. It will attempt to convince you through guilt and shame that being influential, that being powerful, that being respected makes you somehow a bad person, someone selfish, someone cruel. Let it resist with all its strength. Let it complain loudly. Let it fight against the inevitable transformation. Because beyond your uncertain self's complete transformation stands a fundamentally different man. A man who does not apologize for taking up space in any room, who does not explain himself to people who do not matter and never will, who does not beg for respect from anyone because he commands it naturally through who he has become. Which self will you consciously choose to feed today, and which will you deliberately starve? Your mind functions at this very moment as either your single greatest asset or your most significant obstacle to everything you want to achieve. Currently, if you are honest with yourself, chaos likely reigns within your mental landscape. Every criticism from others cuts deeply into your sense of self-worth. Every setback feels intensely personal, like the universe specifically targeting you. Every challenge triggers immediate emotional reaction rather than strategic response. This mental chaos, this emotional volatility, keeps you imprisoned in weakness, trapped in patterns of reaction rather than patterns of deliberate action. Today we begin constructing a fortress mind that nothing external can penetrate, that no criticism can shake, that no setback can break. Machiavelli understood the critical, fundamental importance of mental fortitude with crystal clarity. He observed extensively that princes who allowed their emotions to dictate policy, who made decisions based on feelings rather than strategic calculation, inevitably made disastrous decisions that cost them everything they had built. He noted repeatedly that successful leaders processed events strategically rather than emotionally, treating setbacks as valuable information rather than as personal injuries to their ego. A properly constructed fortress mind does not react emotionally to external events. No matter how provocative, no matter how seemingly personal, it processes them strategically, analyzing them for useful information and strategic advantage. When someone criticizes you harshly, your fortress mind does not feel hurt or defensive. Instead, it gains valuable information about that person's character, their motivations, their insecurities, their fears. When someone disappoints you through their actions, your fortress mind does not feel surprised or betrayed. It receives clear confirmation of what it already suspected about human nature, about that specific person's reliability, about the limits of their character under pressure. Most men live their entire lives at the complete mercy of their emotions, controlled by feelings they never learn to master. They become angry in a moment and make impulsive decisions they deeply regret later. They feel hurt by someone's words and make weak decisions that compromise their position and undermine their goals. They experience fear in the face of challenge and make no decisions at all, remaining paralyzed by uncertainty, frozen by anxiety, stuck in analysis that never leads to action. Machiavelli wrote with precision that men judge far more by their eyes than by their hands, meaning they perceive surface appearances much more readily than they understand underlying realities, deeper truths. actual mechanisms of power. Your fortress mind uses this profound insight strategically to your advantage. Emotions transform from uncontrollable forces into useful data points, valuable information that informs your strategy rather than determining your actions. Anger informs you clearly that someone crossed a line you had established. Pain reveals someone's true nature that was previously hidden beneath pleasant masks. Fear signals unmistakably that you are about to grow stronger through adversity, that you are approaching the edge of your current capabilities and about to expand them. Stop taking everything so personally, as if every action others take somehow relates directly to your worth as a human being. When someone treats you poorly, when they disrespect you, when they attempt to diminish you, they reveal something fundamental about themselves, about their character, about their insecurities. Not about you, not about your worth, not about your value. When someone attempts to manipulate you through guilt or emotional pressure, they demonstrate clearly their own desperation, their own lack of genuine power. Not your weakness, not your vulnerability, not your lack of awareness. Train your fortress mind systematically to recognize patterns, rather than viewing events as isolated incidents without connection. That person who misled you once, who lied to you about something important, they are fundamentally unreliable in their character, and this unreliability will manifest repeatedly. That friend who speaks negatively about others to you, who gossips constantly, who reveals confidences, they almost certainly speak negatively about you to others when you are not present to defend yourself. That person who disrespected you when they thought they could escape consequences, when they believed you would not respond, they will absolutely repeat that behavior, escalate that behavior if you allow them to through your inaction. Your fortress mind processes absolutely everything as learning opportunities, as chances to understand human nature more deeply. Every conversation teaches you something valuable about human nature's unchanging patterns across time and culture. Every interaction reveals someone's true priorities beneath their pleasant words and social performances. Every conflict shows you clearly who genuinely supports you when costs are involved, versus who merely claims to support you when support costs nothing. Practice strategic emotional intelligence systematically, consciously, deliberately. When something makes you angry, when rage rises in your chest, pause deliberately before any reaction. Ask yourself analytically, what is this teaching me about this person or this situation? What information am I receiving? When something hurts, when pain strikes your heart, analyze it coldly like a scientist examining data. What pattern am I observing here? Have I seen this pattern before? When something concerns you, when worry enters your mind, examine it rationally without emotion clouding your judgment. What am I actually worried about beneath the surface? Anxiety. And is that concern genuinely justified by evidence or merely by fear? The fortress mind does not mean becoming emotionless, cold, inhuman, incapable of feeling or connecting. It means becoming emotion-proof, protected from being controlled by feelings. You still feel things deeply. You are human after all, capable of the full range of human emotion. But feelings no longer control your decisions, no longer determine your actions, no longer dictate your responses to challenges. Logic controls your choices with clarity. Strategy controls your actions with precision. Influence controls your life with purpose. Can you commit genuinely to building this fortress starting today, right now, with the very next challenge you face? The loudest man in any room, the one who talks constantly, who dominates every conversation, usually reveals the deepest insecurity beneath his performance. He talks incessantly because nervousness compels him, because silence feels threatening to him. He explains everything in excessive detail because uncertainty drives him, because he fears being misunderstood. He argues aggressively with anyone who questions him, because he desperately seeks validation from others to confirm his worth. You will become the complete opposite of this. You will understand profoundly that silence represents the ultimate display of genuine confidence, that the ability to remain quiet demonstrates power far more effectively than 1,000 words. Machiavelli observed, with his characteristic insight, that those who speak least in any gathering often wield the most actual power in that room. He noted that leaders who constantly justified their decisions to everyone appeared weak and uncertain, while those who acted decisively and spoke sparingly commanded immediate respect without needing to demand it. When you stop explaining yourself constantly, when you refuse to justify every choice you make, something truly remarkable happens in your relationships and interactions. People begin respecting you more deeply, more genuinely than they ever did when you sought their approval. They cease questioning your decisions constantly, testing you repeatedly to see if you really mean what you say. They stop testing your boundaries perpetually to discover where you will bend, where you will compromise, where they can push you. They start treating you like someone who knows something important they do not know, because you do know something critically important. They do not. You understand clearly that your worth exists independently of their understanding, that their comprehension of your value is irrelevant to your actual value. You owe absolutely no one explanations for your choices, for your decisions, for the path you choose to walk. You need not justify your standards to anyone who questions them, regardless of their position or their relationship to you. You have no obligation whatsoever to defend your boundaries against those who challenge them, who claim your boundaries are unreasonable, who demand you compromise what you know you need. The exact moment you begin explaining yourself to someone who challenges you, the instant you start justifying your position to someone questioning you, you grant them authority over you that they have not earned and do not deserve. Consider carefully the most influential people you know personally, the ones who command rooms effortlessly. Do they explain themselves constantly to everyone who questions their judgment? Do they justify every single decision they make to anyone who expresses doubt? Do they argue extensively with everyone who doubts their capabilities or their choices? Of course not. They make decisions firmly and move forward with confidence. They set boundaries clearly and maintain them without apology or explanation. They speak only when they have something genuinely important to say, something worth the investment of their words, and their words carry tremendous weight, precisely because they are highly selective about when and how they speak. Machiavelli understood deeply that mystery enhances power dramatically, that being unknowable increases influence. When people cannot read you easily, when they cannot predict your reactions, they begin respecting your perceived depth, your apparent complexity. They imagine you are more strategic than you might actually be, attributing to you plans and calculations you may not have made. They assume you are planning something significant beyond their comprehension, operating at levels they cannot reach. They grant you influence you never explicitly claimed, but which they project onto you through their inability to categorize you easily, to put you in a comfortable box that makes you simple to understand and easy to dismiss. But here exists the crucial element that transforms silence from mere quietness into genuine power. When you do speak, when you finally choose to use words, your words must carry powerful impact, undeniable weight. Because you have been highly selective with words, refusing to waste them on trivial matters, people pay close attention when you finally speak. Because you do not fill every silence with nervous chatter, every word you choose carries substantial weight, lands with impact, creates lasting impression. Practice strategic silence starting immediately, with the very next interaction you have. When someone accuses you of something unreasonable, something false, something designed to provoke you, do not defend yourself with lengthy explanations and justifications. Simply observe them calmly, letting your silence communicate your complete lack of concern for their opinion, your total indifference to their judgment. When someone demands answers you prefer not to give, when they insist you justify yourself to them, do not explain why you will not answer. Do not provide reasons for your refusal. Simply say no firmly, offering nothing further, refusing to be drawn into debate. When someone attempts to create drama around you, trying to pull you into conflict, do not engage with their theatrics at all. Remove yourself entirely from the situation calmly and decisively. Watch carefully what happens next in these situations. The person accustomed to getting emotional reactions from you, who has learned to push your buttons reliably, suddenly loses all their power over you. They escalate their attempts desperately, trying harder to provoke the response they have come to expect, the reaction they know how to handle. When they fail to get it, when your silence remains unbroken, they either back down in confusion, uncertain how to proceed, or they reveal their true character completely, showing everyone present exactly who they really are beneath their masks. Either outcome serves you perfectly. Either result strengthens your position. Will you master this powerful art of strategic silence, Or will you continue filling the air with words that diminish your power? Here stands a fundamental truth that will save you years upon years of wasted frustration, bitter disappointment, and emotional turmoil. People will disappoint you. Not occasionally, not rarely, but consistently, predictably, inevitably. Your best friend, the one you trust most completely, will choose their own interests over your friendship when stakes rise high enough, when the cost of loyalty becomes too expensive for them. Your business partner, the one who shook your hand and promised loyalty, will choose money over that loyalty when the amount becomes sufficiently large, when temptation exceeds their character's strength. People you trust deeply, people you would sacrifice for willingly, will let you down profoundly when pressure intensifies, when their comfort conflicts with your needs. This is not pessimism speaking. This is pure realism. This is accurate observation of human nature's consistent patterns. Machiavelli wrote extensively, almost obsessively, about human nature's fundamental unreliability, its predictable selfishness. He observed through decades of careful study that men are fickle in their loyalties, ungrateful for past favors, deceitful when honesty costs them, and relentlessly self-serving when their interests conflict directly with yours. Once you accept this uncomfortable reality completely, disappointment becomes eminently manageable because you expected it from the beginning. You planned for it. You built your strategies, assuming it would occur. Most men get completely destroyed by disappointment, devastated emotionally, because they maintained wildly idealistic expectations about human nature, about how people behave when pressured. They believed people were fundamentally better than they actually are beneath social conditioning. They trusted blindly, generously, without first observing carefully and withholding trust, until it was earned through consistent action over time. They confused temporary niceness, surface-level pleasantness with genuine character, with the deep integrity that remains constant under pressure. When disappointment inevitably strikes them, when the mask falls away, they fall apart emotionally and mentally. They cannot comprehend how someone could possibly do this to them after everything they shared. They waste months, sometimes years, trying desperately to understand why it happened, seeking explanations that will somehow make the betrayal make sense. They replay conversations obsessively in their minds, searching desperately for signs they might have missed, or warnings they should have heeded. You will be fundamentally different from these men. You will expect challenges from people and use them strategically as fuel for accelerated growth, rather than as excuses for stagnation. Disappointment is simply information, pure data about reality. It shows you clearly who people truly are when pressure increases and comfortable masks fall away. It reveals character that was carefully hidden beneath pleasant words and social performance. It teaches you invaluable lessons about human nature that you could not possibly learn any other way, lessons that books cannot teach, that theories cannot convey. Every disappointment contains a genuine gift if you know how to unwrap it, the gift of seeing clearly through illusions. Before the disappointment, you might have been confused about someone's character, uncertain about their reliability. After the disappointment, after they reveal themselves, you know exactly who they are beneath their public presentation, beyond any doubt. Machiavelli advised explicitly that the wise prince builds all his plans assuming people will act in their own interest when forced to choose between their benefit and his. He creates multiple backup plans for when allies become distant or even adversarial. He never, under any circumstances, places all his success in someone else's unreliable hands, because hands that hold your success can also crush it when their interests shift. But here exists the transformative secret that converts disappointment from a wound that weakens into fuel that strengthens. Disappointment proves conclusively you are rising above average. People do not disappoint those beneath them in status or capability. They disappoint those above them, those who possess something valuable they want, those who are becoming successful enough to inspire envy rather than pity, those whose rising threatens their ego or their position. When disappointment comes, and it will come repeatedly throughout your journey upward, respond like a strategist, like someone playing the long game, not like a victim responding emotionally to injury. Do not waste precious energy on hurt feelings that change absolutely nothing about the situation. Channel that same energy into strategic thinking that changes everything about how you protect yourself. What did this specific disappointment teach you about human nature in general? How can you use this painful information to protect yourself more effectively in future interactions? What weakness in your approach, what gap in your defenses did this situation reveal that you must now strengthen immediately? Sometimes the best response to disappointment is complete removal, total distance. Delete them from your life permanently, like removing a virus from your system. No lengthy explanations they do not deserve. No second chances they have not earned. No dramatic confrontations that give them attention. Just gone, removed, finished, erased from your circle. Other times the best response is strategic patience, the long game. Note carefully what they did. File it away in your memory precisely. Wait patiently for the perfect moment when circumstances favor you. Then use their own unreliability against them strategically, when timing serves your purposes best, when the lesson will have maximum impact. How will you transform your next inevitable disappointment into strategic advantage rather than emotional devastation? Everything we have discussed converges here, in this final principle, where you transcend ordinary limitations entirely and enter a realm most men never glimpse in their entire lives. This is where you become truly unbreakable under any pressure, unbending in the face of any force, unstoppable by any obstacle. To be genuinely unstoppable means nothing external can disturb your internal equilibrium, your mental peace, your strategic focus. People can criticize you relentlessly, viciously, publicly, but it does not shake your confidence even slightly. They can disappoint you repeatedly, betray you multiple times, but it does not surprise you because you expected their nature to reveal itself eventually. They can challenge you aggressively, test you constantly, but it does not break you because you have built something unbreakable within. The unstoppable man has achieved what most people consider completely impossible, what they dismiss as fantasy: complete independence from others' opinions, reactions, judgments, and approval. Machiavelli understood this ultimate form of power with profound clarity. He wrote that he who conquers himself, who masters his own nature completely, proves mightier than he who conquers entire cities through military force. The greatest victory exists not in controlling others, not in dominating external circumstances, but in mastering yourself so completely, so thoroughly that external circumstances cannot control you, cannot dictate your emotional state, cannot determine your responses. This is not cold-heartedness or emotional detachment from humanity. This is strategic emotional intelligence developed to its highest possible level. You still care genuinely about people, about their well-being, about meaningful relationships, but you do not need them to validate you, to confirm your worth, to tell you who you are. You still love deeply, still connecting authentically, but you do not need to be loved by everyone to feel complete, to feel worthy, to feel like you matter. You still build genuine connections with others, but you do not need connection to survive emotionally, to maintain your sense of self, to know your value. Your influence emerges naturally from self-mastery, not from external control over others. Your strength comes from internal discipline practiced daily, not from outside validation received occasionally. Your victory comes from personal excellence achieved consistently, not from public recognition granted conditionally. You become unstoppable through radical self-reliance developed systematically. You need absolutely no one's permission to be yourself fully. You need no one's cooperation to build the life you envision. You need no one's approval to pursue your goals relentlessly, to walk your chosen path, to become who you are meant to become. This does not mean isolation, does not mean cutting yourself off from humanity. It means becoming highly selective, intentional about connections. You choose carefully who gets access to your limited time, your valuable energy, your focused attention. You decide based on evidence who deserves your investment of resources. You control completely who influences your decisions, who gets voice in your choices, who earns the right to impact your direction. When you become truly unstoppable, people will constantly test you, probing for weaknesses. They will search desperately for cracks in your foundation, for points of vulnerability they can exploit. They will look for emotional buttons they can push to provoke reactions they know how to handle. They will try finding ways to affect you emotionally, to control you through manipulation, to return you to the predictable patterns they find comfortable. Let them exhaust themselves completely trying. Let them waste all their energy searching. They will find nothing exploitable because you have systematically eliminated every weakness, closed every gap, fortified every vulnerability. You have transformed your uncertain self completely, starving it into submission. You have built an impenetrable fortress mind that processes everything strategically. You have mastered strategic silence, speaking only when words serve purpose. You have transformed every setback into fuel, every disappointment into education. You have controlled your reputation deliberately, crafting your presence intentionally. You have made excellence your daily discipline, your sacred practice. You started this journey as one person, limited by old programming and outdated beliefs. You finish it as someone completely different, someone transformed fundamentally. The transformation you have undergone will ripple through every area of your life starting immediately. Your relationships will shift, your career will accelerate, your confidence will solidify, your influence will expand. You now understand deeply the 8 pillars of unstoppable influence rooted firmly in Machiavellian wisdom, in principles tested across 5 centuries. The world will test your new strength immediately. People will push against your new boundaries to see if you really mean them. Your old programming will attempt to seduce you back into comfortable uncertainty, familiar weakness. Stand firm. You have traveled too far to retreat now. You have invested too much to abandon this transformation. You are no longer the man who gets talked down to by people who should respect you. You are the man whose presence commands attention naturally without demanding it. You are no longer the man who begs for respect from anyone. You are the man who expects it automatically and receives it. You are no longer the man who gets pushed around by circumstances beyond your control. You are the man who shapes circumstances deliberately to serve his vision. Now go out there and prove it. This is your moment to act. This is your influence to claim. This is your time to rise. Take everything that is rightfully yours. If this resonated deeply with you, if you felt something shift inside as you read these words, show your commitment to this transformation. Like this content to support its message. Comment below, even anonymously if you prefer, sharing which principle struck you most powerfully, which truth you needed most to hear. Subscribe to this channel to continue your transformation with future content. The path to becoming unstoppable begins with a single decision made in a single moment. Make that decision now. Commit completely. Become unstoppable.